Y'all
What's
can
up?
make
What's
it.
up?
Glad y'all can make it, Fishy Freaks. Good to see y'all. We are rocking the coast right here with Rock, right over there, the coast, and Professor Chewy, our lovable Chewy, and the man of the hour, right down there, Maple Street Aquatics.
What's
Glad to have
up?
you, gentlemen.
Thanks for having me. Good to be with you
Oh, thanks
guys.
for being here. Shoot, it's a pleasure to have you.
Yeah.
Thanks
Uh,
for having us, Rocco, for rather than
oh man, definitely a pleasure. Definitely a pleasure.
That's
rather
a
than
hell of an intro.
unfortunate.
I like that intro.
I'll hook you
And,
up, man.
and if you want to introduce the topic, please feel free
Yes,
to go
actually,
ahead.
I will. I will get to that in just a second. Let me go ahead and say hi to a few people real quick. Mystery Snail Guardians, and if you guys have not gotten a chance to try out her products, you definitely got to try it. If you have snails, shrimp, stuff like that, my even my plecos love those little. I think she calls them cookies or whatever. Loves them, tears them up. So if you get a chance, go check out her site. Whips World, Whips World, Whips World. It's good to see you, Miss Patty, Paul McCarthy, and White Chipmunks. How you doing? MNC Aquatics, always a pleasure to see you. I hope you're feeling better. Dave from Iowa, how are you? Good
What
to
up,
see
Dave?
you.
What's up? What's
All
up?
right, today's special guests, Chewy or Chewy and Maple Street. I'll figure these camera things out. Yeah,
It's hard, man. It's backward. It's hard to do.
I know, right?
I know.
I
I feel the
know.
pain.
But we're gonna go talk about native fish, man. Native fish and like some of the conservation parts of it. The having basically keeping aquarium fish, that are native fish. And I think that to me, I think that's really cool because I remember, and it kind of sticks in my head too. Because when I was a kid, my dad told me, I came home with some creek chubs and some shiners and some brim, and we had
Nice.
this big tank in the basement, and I wanted to put those fish in that tank, and I had bullheads and I had all these fish in there, and he yelled at me and told me, "You can't keep wild fish in your home like that. What's wrong with you? And you're never going to learn." And then here I am, 51 years old, in Maple Street. You proved my dad wrong.
I think so. That kind of
Good
sounds like my
job.
story.
Good job. So with that, Chewy, I know Chewy, you had a few things you wanted to say real quick.
Well, I've got quite a few topics to get off of that. Did you know, Rocco, that you cannot, as a Canadian or as an American citizen, keep an endangered fish from your own country?
America.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, that's a big thing
That's the
with
same
native
thing.
fish. Making
Reptiles are
sure to
like that.
check your local laws and regulation. There's a whole lot of diversity in the laws between areas, even in states. So yeah, definitely got to check your
Right.
local laws.
But legally, you cannot keep an endangered fish like the desert hall pupfish that I have seen in the wild.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's a lot of them.
or several other fish that are endangered. It is against your country's and my country's regulations.
Like
And
paddle-
only one province in the whole country of Canada can keep native fish due to the fact that it comes under bait license law.
Yep.
Now,
Here's a question. Now, you're talking about keeping them. Now, what about like? And the only reason I ask this is because I'm part native. I know there's a lot of native areas up there, especially on the was it the east side? Because you have the Iroquois that are on the east side, and then right about in the middle you have a lot of stuff from like what is it? Whitefish First Nations are there.
okay, let me explain to it by our country. The country has got Ontario, which is the only province that is allowed to keep up to, I think, about 18 species last time I looked. And that is due to bait for walleye, pike. Like, the fishermen know this, right?
Sure.
Right,
Yeah.
Brandon?
Yeah,
You know, like-
absolutely. That's the best. Sometimes the best bait.
Okay,
A lot of
so Meanwhile, they stock our river with pike that is not endemic to our waterway of our rivers, the Columbia,
Yeah.
Right.
and expect us to catch them on just hook. Okay?
Yeah.
Right. Right.
Right? Because we're not allowed to keep bait fish. We are not allowed to keep an endangered killifish to Canada, but in your country, it's all over the place in the certain area that it comes
Right.
from.
Yeah.
But meanwhile, our population, now this is where we get into races, okay? Isolated races of the same species. Ours won't be saved unless it's by the government. It's the same
Right.
thing as your pupfish,
Yeah.
okay? That are in, unless the government saves them, they're gone. Okay? All of the rest of the countries, most of the countries, shall we say, okay, like I can't include climate type climates of, let's say, Russia or that would survive in our natural waterway, but I could say Madagascar quite easily. Okay, look at how many endangered species and what families they come from Madagascar, where basically the project head Marco Isidori is the head of the XYY project. Would you like to know what the XYY stands for?
Send it.
X stands for endangered. Okay? Anywhere. Okay? We're not going to see any footage except from the government or photos of any endangered fish from North America. They put them into public resources for a purpose to cover it, but that's just generally all that they do. Right? Like I can get pictures of an endangered fish through Creative Commons through the U.S. Wildlife and Game Service, and they go, "Thank you very much for covering." Do you see, as a journalist, I see this.
Right.
Okay? Whereas maybe the average hobbyist do not. So the X stands for that. The first Y stands for any zoological animal or plant from Africa. You know how Professor Chewy got his name?
Because he's a professor.
No. Scott from King and Queen Cichlids. But I have a cute video for you. Liz basically acted as a puppet, and she's talking for me, okay?
Right.
Which was very cool. I love that. They did a great job, okay? And Scott is involved in that project through the CARES organization, okay? For the American Cichlid Association. So he sends Professor Chewy off to his favorite continent, Africa. Okay? The second Y I am handing over to Brandon from the hobby industry, because there's a difference of looking at it from the research possibility and the nature possibility. We want to protect these fish in nature. If they're endangered, then we can't keep them. Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And if Brandon can keep certain native fish, that is wonderful. And so at this time, Brandon, what is your favorite native fish that is not endangered?
Not endangered. Okay, so obviously I would never keep an endangered fish. But my favorite fish, native fish, in the fish room right now is a grass pickerel I have over here in the 125. Actually, we went out and my 7-year-old daughter, caught it on a fishing pole. So
How awesome is that,
Yeah,
man?
that's my favorite native at the moment. We also have a bowfin over here that's about 6 inches or so, which we bought
Oh,
him
wow.
from jonasaquarium.com. He's a guy out of Ohio that sells native fish, and
Oh, way cool.
yeah, got that. And then we just got a whole, we got a whole array of other native fish. Most of the people that are here, or they know about what we got. We got sunfish, pumpkin seed, crappie. Keep some smaller species. Some mottled
Crappie
sculpins are
are
pretty
so
cool.
pretty.
Crappie are very cool. They got really nice finnage for native.
Right. Now, what crappies do you have?
We have some black crappie.
Okay.
Yeah, we got two of them. They're probably 6 inches. They're back here in this 90
Right
with the
on.
pumpkin seed. We have some bullhead like you were talking about. You used to have when you were a kid. So
Yep,
we got
yep.
two small. Well, we got one small yellow bullhead and then one that's probably about 8 inches or so.
Ooh.
And yeah, just the budget fish room. When I decided to build the fish room, I wanted to keep it on a budget. I didn't want stuff to be like an expensive cost to run. So shop lights pretty much on everything, and then it all runs off of one air pump.
Right
Central
on.
linear piston air pump. So it's mostly sponge filters and. All the tanks are planted. They're all pretty natural tanks. A lot of them are dirted, and it's a really low maintenance. So, and it looks cool with native fish. I try to
I
kind
think
of
it's
mimic
awesome.
the nature and how it looks, and yeah,
Right on.
I enjoy them.
Oh, I
So
dig the hell out of it.
now, as the follow-up to that, you said that you do not keep any native USA fish, but the native North America, you do. And one of my favorite species you have had, and we've got a school program going on for Rocko. So would you like to talk about a goodiad that was related to my goodiad and how close they look? Very similar,
Yeah,
but they actually come from two different race populations and they've separated enough to become separate species.
yep,
Brandon?
yeah, sure. So they're what the fish that he's talking about is it's a Gadiad. They're a Mexican fish. Native to San Marcos, Mexico. This actually the fish that we have here have a collection point of San Marcos, so they're native to that area. They're very much probably on the extinct list, or close to. They're definitely of concern. Not very stable in the wild at all because of basically habitat loss of habitat. But they are on the CARES list, and yeah, there's Xenotoca diageri is the name. And like Chewy said, there was a little bit of a confusion. It must have been a number of, 10 years ago or more, Chewy, I'm not sure. But they were first thought of as Xenotoca eiseni. And then later on, they changed that name to Xenotoca diageri. And so now there's this question of two different species that are very similar. But either way, yeah, they're on the CARES list. If you don't know about the CARES list, basically a list of fish that are endangered or at risk in the wild, and it's a pretty cool program. You can get involved in it. You don't really have to be super hands-on. If you want to just get in remotely, you can get in remotely like that, and just kind of documents people keeping these fish that are endangered in the wild. And if you breed them, you can report back that you've bred these fish. They can keep kind of a tally of how many fish are out there, and if people are doing good with them, they're building populations. And yeah, it's a good program, and it's kind of cool to say that you got some fish on the CARES list, especially if you can do good with them, because you're
Right.
kind of helping keep that lineage alive that could have been lost in the wild. So yeah, I got
I had
some of
no
those.
idea that was a thing. That's pretty awesome. What was that called again?
That's called the CARES list. If you look it up, it's I don't know the website or anything. I don't know, Rocko, if you got any mods,
We'll figure it out.
but it's
Do I need to go?
Can you find a link, Chewy?
Yes, I can do
Yeah,
that.
find a link. I'm pretty sure
Just a moment.
there's a whole big list, and it's not just it's fish from everywhere. There's
Mhm.
African cichlids and stuff. I mean, there's this fish from all-
Caresforfish.org.
There you go. Yep. And it's something to know if you wanted to, you're at a point in your fish keeping hobby that you're, doing good with fish, and you want to like try to, give your hand at some fish that are, a little bit at risk, a little more rare, you know, it's a good thing. I think it's a good thing.
Okay. Now, I have this to follow it up, Rocko, and I'm not in the regular chat, so you're going to have to copy and put it in for me, okay?
Gotcha.
Okay. I have chosen the specific group that Brandon's fish comes from. And this is one of those educational fish programs that we talked about earlier. So, Brandon, would you care to say what you agree to?
Oh yeah, Chewy. We were talking pre-stream, and Chewy asked if I would be willing to donate some of these Gadiads to Rocko. It's for the school program?
Classroom.
That's correct.
That's right. He gets to breed them first, and then he gets to put them into the school program.
I'd be a little bit nervous at first because obviously I've never shipped any fish before, so that's going to be on me on my end. So, but yeah, definitely would be willing to offer some donation to Rocko to get the fish room started there, or the couple of tanks or whatever you're doing in the kids' classroom. That's pretty cool. So yeah.
Okay.
can speak
Now,
about that
as
later.
a follow-up, there is a difference between IUCN regulations and the CARES preservation.
Yeah.
There is a big difference. You're dealing with international governments that control the reintroduction of species. The most successful reproduction introductions are birds, generally speaking. Okay?
Okay.
They have problems, from what I'm hearing, with the reintroduction into Lake Malawi. The American Cichlid Association did with two, and now with, like, they have done it through various different universities and different types of breeding programs that help bring them back, like they did in the videos.
I said we talk about it. That's why I said. I don't mean to be hesitant, but if you're gonna put some fish in
absolutely.
a classroom, you probably don't want to do it with
110 degrees.
super rare fish. But I did say, I do have those Alemia Perugiae, which are very cool fish, and I have way too many of those. So we'll talk about it. We'll definitely talk about it.
The idea behind it is to help spread out the education
Sure.
of the endangered.
Yep. And you can find I'm on a club on Facebook. You can find people doing that already at a much like more competent scale than me. I'm just pretty much I don't really ship a whole lot of fish. I don't really get a lot of fish in the mail. I kind of keep it local, and the fish that I get from my club and local people. But yeah.
But I
Honestly, it's
understand
awesome that you're doing native.
Alemia because I used to breed them myself.
Yeah.
And
I think Rocko. I think you should. And obviously you need to check this out. But I would recommend that you try to do it with some collecting of fish. Like, I remember when I was in elementary school, and they took us to the high school, and they walked us out behind the high school to this pond that was way down in the field. We had some nets. We caught some like tadpoles. I think you should try to get that incorporated in. You could go out.
I wish
to
I
some
could.
streams or something, or catch some small fish.
Like on
Didn't you say you were gonna-
if we would do that, it would have to be like on a weekend kind of thing, because the way this is getting broken down in this classroom with her being an interventionist is she's doing, like I said, she's doing kindergarten through 5th grade, and it's getting broken up into 3 separate blocks. So the first block it'll be such and such a grade, second block will be such and such a grade, and then blah blah blah. Okay, so it'll be a lot of repetition doing what she's doing, but some of the things are going to be geared more towards the little kids, and then some of them it's going to be geared more towards the older kids, so
exactly.
it's going to be a little different thing going on at first. But I think with her being the educator that she is, and I've seen how she does things, and with me knowing fish and this, that, and the other, I think it'd go incredibly well. The fourth name.
Hey, didn't you say it was going to be?
That's Third Coast. That's Third Coast Aquatics, Dan, Kenny.
Did was that Kenny? Yeah, I'm not even looking at
Yeah, Thirdimus Maximus.
the third.
The third.
So didn't you say they were gonna be it was gonna be an after school thing, right?
Yes, yes,
So
yes.
why don't you look around, see if there's any small creeks or something around the school itself? Because I think that's a spot on idea.
Yeah.
Well, it is a great idea.
Hell yeah.
I mean, we have
That's where you're gonna
starting
find
park right down the
all
road
kids.
from us, but like I said, the problem is going to be is getting the kids to go down there for one, and then being on school time is going to be. It'd have to be like a field trip.
Right, for sure. That
Yeah.
weekend, or you do the after school program where you go chaperone.
Well, the after school program
The parents.
is still
Invite
they're
the
still
parents with
sponsored
them
by
as
the
well.
school, so they have to be.
Well, another point to this is that that Texas Fish and Game do offer school programs.
Yeah, that would be
Yes.
that would be the people to talk to right there. Talk to the local.
I've already got an email out to them.
They could help facilitate that. And it probably went so easy for us at our school because it was actually on school grounds. So we didn't have to travel
Right.
to bus and stuff.
Right.
Yeah. That's
Now,
a cool
if this was a rabbit group, we'd be in because we got rabbits in the playground all the time. But it's a fish group.
Yeah.
So if y'all want some lop-eared rabbits,
So I know that Danikin is out there too. A big shout out to him.
Yeah, what's up, Kenny?
Because,
Good to see all you guys in the chat. Good to see all you
you
guys.
know, like
I know.
I didn't like challenging the president over that particular thing, but due to the fact that he is the president, I have to basically bring it up. But there is no such thing as the bleaker eye in the hobby. It went extinct.
Yeah. Yeah, he was bummed about that. And that's a sad deal.
Yeah, it basically went extinct, and like I'm going like I had Allison, who is from Scott's Club, come and tell me, well, Dr. Loisel figures that it's this species, but it just went species, and then Jim Cummings said it was another species, which has got me confused again. Because Dr. Paul Loisel is an ichthyologist, and Jim Cummings is an experienced hobbyist.
Yeah.
But he deals with
He's a collector too, though, right? He goes
exactly.
On
So he deals with this kind of situation. So has that changed since the information that I got through Yellowstone? That I do not know.
Right.
But it's part of the research that you have to do when you're dealing with an endangered species.
Yep. Look at that. Kenny
And
said he's going to have a couple
I
of
wish
babies.
you the best of luck finding the endangered sunfish that is in Canada, but is in your area.
Well, there's some, Chewy, I found out there is some in Detroit, in the Detroit area. I got on a Facebook page, and a guy said you could pretty much go anywhere. I forget the name of the county, but it was right up there by Detroit, like a suburb of Detroit. He said about any
That's where I
public
figured that they
landing.
would be,
Yeah,
because it's
So,
close to
that's north of
the
that's
lake.
north of me a ways. I've been looking. Apparently they might be a little bit south of me too, but I don't know if that case is it going to be the different possible range for the long-eared sunfish, where the fish that you're talking about are the northern sunfish. So I'm
Right.
assuming there's going to be a line or an area where those fish haven't kind of migrated past, or maybe there's not. I don't know.
Now, I have a special project myself that I'm working on musically that I have released a video of. Unfortunately, the guitar player that would have played on that song is now dead. He's been dead for over a month. And unfortunately, people die of drug and alcohol abuse and and homelessness and mental and physical capabilities. And Christmas is coming up, and that is the time that most people commit suicide. And so my video is on my channel, deals with a certain phone number that both Canada and the United States have got different phone numbers for. But it's for suicide prevention. And I am worried about certain homeless people in our fish community that suffer from some of these issues.
Mm-hmm.
And basically, I don't want to make a dime off of it. I just want it out there,
Right on.
right? Because if it saves somebody's life, that's fine.
I don't know. Have you ever seen that before? I don't know if it's going to focus or not.
Valhalla Project.
Yeah, that's the same thing. 22 veterans a day.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sad.
The Valhalla Project is all about.
Bless you.
That's why I wear that every day. I never take it off.
Where are your sleeve, Rocko?
What's that?
Imagine losing the guy who got you into the music industry committing suicide because his wife left him.
Oh, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Pickiness.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. You see, Kenny said he's got baby Oscars coming. It's awesome.
No way.
Yeah. They deserve
Tiger
some stuff
Oscars?
like that to happen after what they've been through lately, so that's
Oh,
awesome.
I know, right?
It's good to hear.
Good old
No
president.
kidding.
Yeah, congrats.
I was able to change water on 20 tanks yesterday, so you're feeling way better then. That's awesome. That's good to hear. You know, I hate to get in your business all the time because I know every time you come up there, I'm always like, hey, how you feeling? How you feeling? How you feeling? But I don't do it to be a jerk. It's just because I care. That's all.
Hey, Lori.
You know, and it's hard because you make all these friends, in this community, and we got a great tight knit group of folks, and when somebody goes down, it's like, instantly, especially when it's a military guy, it's like, oh wait, hold up, don't leave nobody behind, man. We got to pick them up. We got to go, kind of attitude. So it's like, I'm always, and like I said, I don't do it to be nosy or to, just because I care and I worry about you guys. So
What's up, Chalupa?
don't take it as being pushy. It just,
Chalu.
I genuinely do give a damn.
Got some good people here. Yeah, I think definitely
for the most
Rocko
part.
where it's at is. I think that's where it's at, man. I think you need to tie that in a little bit with keeping the fish tank in the fish room, and then getting some of them fish from the wild right there. Trying to get the
That would be a blast. It really
DNR in,
would.
man. That'd be awesome, and it would be such a good learning experience for the kids.
Absolutely, absolutely. John
What's up, John?
McKenzie. But yeah, I think that'd be a really great place to go with it.
Yeah,
And I know I had,
my
and I
kids
can't
love
remember
it.
the exact name of the entity I talked to or emailed to, but it's basically, it has something to do with Texas Fish and Wildlife.
Yep.
But there's like an educational part of it, and that's who I tried to get in touch with.
So Rocko,
Try to get something done with them so they could come in and actually do something.
Yeah.
we should bring up this idea of, like, I passed on two kind of things to, like, this all started with actually a cook. You know the woman
Okay.
I'm talking about, right? Gracia?
Yeah,
Italy?
the Italian lady.
Okay, she likes it because she follows nature pills. So she's going to cook an invasive species to Lake Victoria, the Nile perch, right? Because tilapia is not available in Italy. Can you believe that?
Right.
In the marketplace, like they don't have tilapia.
That's just
Of all
regulation.
things.
Tilapia, the most invasive species in the world, they can't get in a market. Like it doesn't make sense. They could get now perch,
Right.
you know. Okay, so she volunteered to do a recipe on the Nile perch.
Oh, interesting.
Okay. And Marco, okay, I picked you and Marco, okay, to do this. So I'm handing off one of the situations. You get to pick two people, but I want one of them to be Brandon. I want him to get some wild footage of a fish, okay, underwater, okay, any fish species that is native to his area.
Okay.
And talk about that, supply as much information on it. I am willing to help you by using my ResearchGate program. They also offer a free program for ResearchGate, but you don't get all.
Oh, I got plenty of research on these guys.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I'm basically using one. Could I suggest another one to you as the second one,
Let's hear it. Let's hear it.
Rocco?
Shoot.
I suggest we call out the president and have him actually do something on the paratilapia, because I did Terry's, okay? Okay, as part of the program, I did Terry's paratilapia, and just throw that into the CARES organization through Scott. Since I've been assigned Africa, you know, like go to Africa. We don't want you around here. You like Africa, you go. Okay.
Right.
Okay. So I'm Marco's guy in Africa, so I'd sort of like to keep it in Africa.
Gotcha.
Would that be okay with you? That you personally challenge Denikin to cover that species as much as he possibly can for the CARES preservation program. I will help him with the research if he wants my help.
That sounds worthy.
Yeah.
Right.
Hand it over to the president, man.
That sounds like a lot of work too, though.
I know it is a lot of
Right.
work,
Yeah,
but
it's a lot of work.
hey,
Whoa, whoa, whoa,
What's
whoa.
up, Ray?
everything in the aquaculture industry is work.
My lord.
Yeah. Yep. Did I share this? I shared this out, didn't I? I did. Share it out. If you guys can share the stream out, share it out.
And thank you
What's
very
going
much,
crazy?
Rocco, for helping me
What's up?
Marco's project. Thank you very, very much. Thank you.
Oh, no problem. No problem. Benoski, how are you? Good to see you.
Chubbs, what's up?
So, native fish have been handed over to my friend Brandon. If he needs help from me, that's fine.
Big responsibility, buddy.
I know. But you're ready for it, man.
I'd imagine, Rocco, I imagine Texas would be pretty light on their laws down there too.
Some,
think they'd be
yeah.
too
Some,
bad.
yes. They're not real bad. It really depends on the species, really.
What size tank? What size tank you got to work with?
Whatever I have. I mean, I got a
Whatever you
40. I got a 40, a tall 40, like an
Yeah.
old school 40.
Yeah.
I got to tear it apart and reseal it. And then I got 2 tanks over at Third Coast House too. I got to go pick up and reseal those too. I'm not sure what, like one. I think one's 55 and I think
Yeah.
one's, what, 29.
Yeah.
Okay.
What about a Texas cichlid, man? What about that?
I had,
have
dude,
one.
That's
I had
that
a-
would be. Would that not be? I mean,
I
it's
had a
it's
real
gonna be a bigger
brand.
fish.
Awesome.
I had
That's
a
awesome.
real brand, and so I caught it, and it had like a deformity in its mouth,
Mhm.
and I went to go let it go. I mean, it wasn't. It was probably about 5 inches or so.
What's
But
the
when I went to
smallest
let,
one you? What's the smallest one you could catch? Could you catch like a 2-inch one, inch and a half?
probably. I mean, it'd
That's what
be,
I would do. Catch them small. I mean, from my experience, going out and collecting native fish or catching native fish and bringing them back. If you can get them
The
smaller,
smaller the better.
they'll do
right, for
better.
sure.
As
The
long as they
only
can
reason
eat,
why I kept
you gotta
this
get them
one,
eating.
well, my wife and I kept this one because we went to let it go, and I mean, it was a 5 inch fish. You know, it
Yeah,
wasn't a struggle or anything.
Mhm.
I didn't rip its lip. I didn't do anything like that. But it had a deformity in its mouth.
yeah.
It was kind of weird, but I guess it was too much for it. And it was swimming kind of awkwardly, so I just scooped it back up and took it home. And I don't know if it wasn't a genetic deformity. It was probably like an injury, and
Yeah.
it just over time it healed up, and we just let it go after we caught it about 2 months later. So that thing was just mean. That
Oh
was a
What
yeah.
kind of fish was it
mean
again?
fish.
Oh yeah.
It was a real grand cichlid. It was
Yeah.
pretty. It was
What's a
all
Texas cichlid?
yeah,
That's a
Texas.
Yeah, Texas Cichlid. That's what I got in the tank right over there.
They're I forget the
they're
scientific name.
aggressive.
High, it starts with an A, but there's a little bit of a divide from the Texas cichlid and then down into Mexico a little bit.
Right.
You get into the Carpintus, which is a little bit more colorful.
Mm.
But yeah,
Right,
I
right.
think a small Texas cichlid would be awesome. I mean, and they're hardy. You know, they're
They
gonna
are
make it. If
very hardy.
And
kids want to
then
try to pet it, they'll be all right probably.
then
I
you
mean,
get into the offshoot of species of like a genus that has been renamed, which is closely related. I can't think of the genus name right now. My brain is a parson. But those tend to have smaller, more colorful variations, but you don't see them too often in the hobby.
yeah.
And some of them are not endangered, and some of them are. The info at Mexico site that I gave Brandon, okay, that is run by Juan, who is a part of the CARES preservation program. He basically looks after a lot of the Mexican endangered fish. So
Yeah.
we're better to learn from than somebody that is part of the CARES preservation, part of the American Cichlid Association,
Sure.
and part of that situation.
Absolutely.
Like, I'm sure that Rusty and Juan know each other, and Rusty brings in that knowledge back to talk to Americans about, just like Pam Chin does over in Lake Malawi and Dr. Paul Loisel in Madagascar.
Yep.
God bless it. I'm trying to. Son of a
How
gun,
far
the
apart
video.
are you guys? Are you guys both? You guys are both in Texas, right?
I've been
Yeah, we're
standing
like what?
by them.
We're like what? 40 minutes away, 50 minutes away.
Oh,
Something like that.
there you go.
Yeah, it's Texas rocking the coast, but instead we're rocking the world today.
Right.
Because this is a world topic.
Yeah.
Endangered
Right.
species is a world topic.
Man, where did that? I'm trying
There's
to
over
find
a
a video.
million species currently on the IUCN list that are endangered.
Sorry to hear that, Chubbs. Chubbs is losing a lot of fish down there. Sorry to hear that, buddy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Hurricanes are a wonderful thing.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
another reason why I like this central pump, because if I lose power to this house, all these tanks have at least one sponge filter in them off of this system. And
Right.
if I can just keep it running, I got an inverter, like a 1400 watt inverter and a deep cycle battery. I can keep it running. So
Real smart.
it's one thing to think about. It's another reason why I like native fish too. Like, they work out great. You were talking earlier about having native fish in the basement. The basement is like the perfect place for native
Yep.
fish. You know, it's nice and cool. And I don't run any heaters in any of these tanks, so
Oh,
that's
wow.
another thing to think of too. I mean, the temperature in this basement, it's like 74 degrees right now, but in the middle of winter it gets down to like 57 degrees. So all these tanks they get down to about that same temperature. So all these fish that you
I'm
see down
good.
here, all these fish you see down here, make it in that temperature. They chill out a little more in the winter. They slow down a bit, but
Well,
it is
everything,
what I
everything
do.
I got would be belly up at that time.
Yeah.
Some of the native fish around your area, Brandon.
Big J, what's up?
Some of these fish, actually a lot of these fish, if I kept them probably 10 degrees hotter, wouldn't do as good. They would struggle. They would definitely struggle. Mottled
Right.
sculpin in particular down here, I got them in this tank on the floor for that reason.
Mm.
And they just hang out in the bottom of these fast-moving creeks and the rocks where it's constantly moving water. And even in the hot days of summer, it's still chilly down there. So
You
Right
see, up here in Canada, we can keep the Texas cichlid and we can keep things from Florida, but we can't keep anything from Ohio
that's crazy.
because
That
it
is strange.
would become invasive in our water.
Oh, okay.
It's crazy that they break
In
it down
Texas,
that
the
far.
Texas cichlid would not be invasive in your waterways.
No, it wouldn't, but the fish around Ohio would.
Yeah, it would probably make
Because
it up here.
It gets
Maybe.
too cold
I don't
for
know.
the Texas.
I don't know. How cold did it get this winter, Rocco? I mean, you guys had
Oh yeah,
you
that's
guys had
And
fish
I'll
up,
tell you
fish up
what.
everywhere.
Yeah, I mean, I lost
outside.
about
And, I mean, even
130 some
like
fish
yeah, I'm talking like outside though, like in the local waterways.
Yeah.
There was dead fish everywhere.
everywhere.
And if there's still
We got-
Texas cichlids down there, they can handle that. Think about
There's
that.
Yeah, but only for a short
Starkey Park is like right
Oh,
down
yeah.
the road from this, and that place, there was fucking dead. There was dead fish floating everywhere.
Yeah.
Not one did I see. Not one Texas cichlid though.
Yeah.
Not one.
Yeah, and Chewy's right. I mean, if it's only a certain amount of time, fish can handle it, but fish don't have a way to control their body temperature.
Oh,
Really,
right.
so-
This was
Right,
how long
right.
did this last? Like the longest part was what, a week and a half or so. I mean,
What
you're
the,
looking
the
at
cold down here?
yeah.
It was almost 2 weeks almost.
I mean, but you're looking at what Canada. I mean, y'all have seasons.
That's
I mean,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Oh, up here
We
in
don't.
Indiana, I mean, it gets down 10, 20 below during the winter sometimes.
Oh, I
Yeah.
You know, the
Oh,
lakes,
you guys
the lakes
are so
freeze
lucky
up in
at
like
20
December and they
below.
stay frozen
Good,
for a
man.
while. So
I'm good.
Yeah,
man.
until like the end of April.
yeah,
I'm good
yeah.
on that.
Like
Ice fishing,
north-
man. Ice fishing's a
Northern
thing.
BC.
Love it. Love
I
ice
would love.
fishing.
I love to fish. I'd love to go ice fishing, but dude,
Oh, it's a blast. It's a blast.
It is.
You haven't lived until you've been ice fishing. I'll just tell you that.
Well, you got to catch something first, but yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you catch it. When you go ice fishing,
As soon as you catch one, you're done.
One
You're
or
like,
the
yeah.
other.
Yeah, I'm gonna take you to the surf, Rock. I'm gonna take you to the surf, and I'll show you the living.
No, I'm good.
When you got a 6-foot bull shark staring right at you.
I'm
Okay.
good.
Can I ask
Well, you know,
a question for the panel?
sure.
What is the coldest weather you have ever been in?
Oh Lord,
Um,
I've been in right around -50.
I think
Ooh.
I don't think I've been in that cold a temperature, but I think like the wind chill was down to that cold. I think negative 30s or 40s.
Right.
I'd
About
say
as
about
cold
the
as I've
same.
seen it around here. I
I've,
think that was a while ago.
The coldest weather I ever was in northern BC. It was minus 56 below with a wind chill factor making it minus 8 degrees below.
That doesn't surprise me.
That's gross.
Yeah. It was like brrr, but that was in the 80s.
Yeah, that's
But
about what
weather
what I got.
math has changed a great deal. Like our glaciers are melting like unbelievable.
Oh, you're right. Absolutely. At unbelievable rates too. You know what I mean?
Fish fam ice fishing trip.
Right. I'm down.
Salute, dude. I like that.
Yeah.
Man, I remember, and it was cool because we would go in the backwaters of
Can we go to the
Mississippi
coast? It's
River.
warm.
You know. Yeah, yeah,
Nice.
yeah. We go in the backwaters of the Mississippi River, and we cut our little hole. We take our little ice shanty. We set the ice shanty up, you know, and we take all the snow and pack it around the shanty, to keep the sunlight from coming in underneath, right? And then you take your little heater, you turn your heater on, take off your coveralls, get warm, you know. You reach over and you grab your beer out of the cooler, stick it on the ice because the ice is colder than the cooler is, you know. So you put your beer on the ice right there in front of you, and you drink beer and catch fish all day.
And then the
No.
can
So
kind
we
of
would-
melts
we
into
would
ice
go-
a little bit.
Yeah, we
Gotta
when
talk
we would
about that little
go,
can that melts into ice. That's pretty cool.
you get a little circles on the ice.
Rocko, have you
You never
ever
say how
been,
many beers you didn't drink because you can count the circles on the ice and tell how many beers you drank.
There you go.
Rocco, have
So
you
you can't
ever
do it
heard?
anymore.
Have you ever heard the name Jeff Marlieff?
No.
Dr. Jeff Marlieff from the Vancouver Public Aquarium?
Doesn't sound familiar, huh?
Okay, he is the only person that has ever bred wolf eels, which is not even an eel, but a fish.
Uh,
He recently did, within the last 4 years, a talk on climate change and climate regime at the Vancouver Aquarium that was covered by their live.
gotcha.
On my latest video, there is a link to that discussion where he basically says that our pH water is falling due to the amount of waste litter from forests, as well as the lack of sediment runoff heading into the sea. We don't have that problem running east because all the hard water flows east. The soft water flows west. The pH in the Fraser River has become better.
Interesting.
Yes.
Very interesting. Cool. So, okay, check it out. We got 15 minutes left before we all got to go room raid Foxy's fishes. So, what I would like to do is go ahead and all the folks in the chat, if you have questions that you'd like to ask Maple Street about his native fish or something like that,
Yeah.
please, this is the time to do it. Hit him with all the
Exactly.
questions you can come up with. Hit him with all the questions you can come up with.
I got a question.
That's here.
Hit him up.
If what fish that you do not have, native fish, would you like to get into your collection?
Oh, well, I'd like some blue spotted sunfish. I don't have any of those. But let's see. That's a good question, man. That's a damn good question. I part of me really would like to have a snakehead, but when you,
I know,
you get
right?
into talking about snakeheads, just like Chewy was talked about, regulations. They're invasive. They're bad for local waterways. I
have to
understand
be-
and agree, but
have-
I mean, I would love to have a snakehead, but it's probably never going to happen. Just
You have
because
to be in an educational
regulations.
facility to have a snake.
Right.
it happened back in the day. I mean, I guess it was happening in like the 80s and stuff, and then they kind of
You
locked down.
can't put like a tracker in it or something? I know it sounds crazy. I know it
It's
sounds
just
crazy,
getting.
but don't they do that in Canada for like arowanas or something?
We have
You
got
might be right.
Asian arowanas. They range in price depending upon grade from $500 to $200,000.
Right, but you have to have like
Wow.
a special permit in order to
No,
have
we
it.
don't need the permit.
Really?
We need the GPS.
There you go. Same. There you go. The tracker.
Well,
How
there's
much
a
was
chip.
it again?
There's
much was
a
it?
chip. It's not GPS, but there is a chip that the farms put in the fish
Right. It's
that they are not caught out of the way.
So it's
Right.
kind of like putting a
a chip in the dog or
what they call
something.
those, chip on a dog or a cat. Yeah, same thing.
Or a brand on a cow.
Actually, and to go farther on that Third Coast, I do want a long-eared sunfish, or like Chewy was talking about too, northern sunfish. They're a little bit more hard to find, and I've been fishing like 2 days every weekend, and I've been doing it for like the
man.
last 2 or 3 months, and just
And you have yet
going
to
to
find
different
the long-eared
spots, and
yet?
I've not finding them. All the spots I'm finding are like all dominated by bluegill and like
Yeah.
green sunfish or pumpkin seeds. So
Yeah.
We got
you
a
have to
lot of
run
that
onto some
going
of
on.
those.
I got
I'd
a
like
lot
to
of
have
that
some
going
Texas
on.
cichlids too. I'd like some big Texas cichlids. I think they do good down here.
I sent you a link, or I put a link in the private thing back there.
Yeah.
For a guy that I met, and I can't remember where. I think I met him on Facebook. I think, but he's got a channel here on YouTube, and he's got some of the most amazing blue Texas cichlids I've ever
Yeah.
seen.
Nice.
Beautiful. Yeah,
And
if
that
Texas
species
cichlids, I would.
is
He sells them too, so
Nice.
that species is actually becoming invasive into other waterways in
Yeah.
or states,
Sure.
just naturally by global warming.
an
Yeah,
arrow.
Or
you're
shall
right.
I say
That's the
climate
whole
change?
problem with all the invasive fish in Florida.
Yeah.
They've been able to handle the temperatures. They've just evolved over time to handle the temperatures. So.
That's it.
Native fish are
And,
strong, man. Fish in the wild type fish, they're strong.
and,
A
the,
little
and
bit of
it
heart.
affects, and the Florida waterways actually do affect the look of the fish.
Oh yeah.
Like, shall we look at the Jewel Cichlid for an example? The
There you
Jewel
go.
Cichlid out of Africa is deep red.
Yep.
The Jewel Cichlids out of Florida are dull gray because they've adapted to birds.
I tell you, if I had a chance to go to Florida, I'd come back with some of those pike live bears. They're
Yep.
little,
Oh.
they're little live bears. They're like a big half beak. Man, they're freaking awesome.
Well,
They're
the
not
natives
they're not
of
native down
Florida
there,
are
but
beautiful
they're down there.
fish. The natives
Florida's
of
getting
Florida are beautiful fish.
overrun by stuff that's not from there.
Yep. Yeah, you could probably talk forever on that subject too,
Yep.
for sure.
But I want to thank you once again, Rocco, because Marco cannot speak English.
That's all right. I can't speak English very well either, so
And he doesn't feel comfortable even speaking Italian. So
I got you.
So I said, well, I will handle that part for you. And I will hand it off to like the like I don't mind Africa. I'll spend all day.
Right on.
But due to the fact that I get most of my stuff through the federal government. Okay, like your federal government, like the U.S. Fish and Game are amazing for supplying information, especially about native fish, as well as endangered fish.
Yeah. You know, just to talk about that, like I noticed this year, and it was just this year, that if you say you go to the store to get your fishing license, they got a little pamphlet there. It says, fishing license for Indiana for this year. They mentioned keeping fish in an aquarium like 2 times in that little pamphlet. So, yeah.
Coming up.
They got all kinds of information. If you want to know if you can keep a native fish from your state, you can find that information. Just look it up. There's a lot of cool groups out there. NANFA.org is a really cool one. North American Native Fish Association.
Oh, way cool.
All kinds of information.
It depends on how they classify it, but
I want to
never
speak
be-
on one thing too. Since you guys are like Third Coast, if you're out fishing, you can get on nanfa.org, hit that little button where it says fish map, and you can put in like your zip code for where you're at, and it'll bring a list up of all the fish that you're going to find in your area. Pictures of them, how to identify them, their scientific names. You can look them up, see how big they get. It's
For Napa?
yeah. nanfa.org.
Oh, Nanfa.
NANFA.org.
North American Native Fish
American.
Association.
Yep.
Yeah, the
Really cool.
Texas
site.
is pretty good on.
You guys got
ID.
some cool little fish down there too.
Yeah, we do.
Darters and stuff like that.
You have one really endangered fish down there. It's like a minnow that's from the Rio Grande.
It's a what?
It's a little minnow. I can't
Okay.
but it's
Killifish, too, some big
seriously
killifish.
endangered, okay? Like, they keep on breeding it in facilities, but it isn't sticking in the wild. They restock it, but it just doesn't stick.
Right.
Something is in that waterway, either a pollutant or an abundant predator. And
Right.
its major predator is the Rio Grande Cichlid.
Oh yeah.
So it sort of is understandable. They're breeding like crazy.
You guys got plecos down there too, don't you?
Oh,
Like
yeah.
plecos all over.
I was
And some of
walking.
the sloughs have them.
I was actually at the Riverwalk And so I looked down into the river, where everybody's doing their tourist thing in the boats and whatnot. I looked down there. I kid you not, there was a 2 foot like common pleco just like right there at the surface. I was like, "Where's a net? I need a
that's
net
crazy.
now."
And one thing that you should never do is once you take out a fish out of nature, you do not put it back in unless you have permission to from your government. You
Actually,
need to
yeah, that's a
test
good
it.
point. I mean, a really, really good point. There's really two things I think. I mean, what Chewy's talking about though is great. I think the one of the most important things is to properly identify a fish, so you know what you're dealing with, so that way you're not taking something that could potentially be endangered out of the wild. So
Right.
know what you're dealing with as far as identification and how much of a concern it is, endangered or not in the wild. And then, like Chewy said, once you take it, that's the cardinal rule pretty much, is don't release it back in the wild. So just because of
Aquariums
there's a
have
whole
got
bunch of reasons.
pathogens
Well,
that
we got the
nature
grass carp.
is not used to.
Yeah.
It's a big no-no.
I've been seeing a lot
And
of people release grass
that's
carp
kind of
out there.
it's a double-edged sword in a way, because it makes all kinds of sense not to release fish back in the wild. Once you've had them, you could have them sick and have illnesses that they're not naturally used to in the wild. But then at the same point, like if you're in these programs where you're breeding these fish that are endangered in the wild, how could you ever reintroduce them into the wild? You know what I mean?
Veterinarian
It's a
assistant.
one way and another. It'd be
Government-
government controlled. I know.
Government, yeah, government would have to do that.
Veterinarian control. That's what they get you on. And that is technically it's practicing veterinarian skills, because you're making the decision so they can hang you out to dry. If they catch
They
you.
ain't hanging me out because I ain't gonna be dumb enough to do it.
Oh, yes, well, some people do.
I know
Oh, I
a lot
get
of
it.
people don't like to think about it, but I do it. I deal with it a lot because I'm a fisherman. I've been a fisherman just
Oh,
as long as
absolutely.
I've been a fish keeper. And when you're a fisherman, you mean killing a fish ain't no thing. So sometimes it's a better thing to do. Just
Bingo.
don't
Oh,
waste it.
absolutely.
I use it. If anything, it'll
I'll
fertilize
eat
a
it if I
plant
have to.
or
Yeah.
a tree.
Bingo.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, if you catch an invasive species, a lot of them are edible.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Snakeheads.
absolutely.
I hear snakeheads are real good.
Yeah,
And
that's,
geckos are delicious.
I've heard like all the carp.
And I really wouldn't even want the snakeheads that you'd catch around here. I'd want one of the Asian snakeheads that stayed kind of
Yeah,
small.
yeah.
That's what I'd want. But they got snakeheads in general just locked off. So
I've seen people
Understandable.
toss. I've seen people toss carp, and I've eaten carp, and it was not bad at all. It was actually so there's like a few Korean recipes. Had a buddy he followed it, and he gave me some, and I was like, "Holy crap, man, that is amazing."
And if you don't eat it, why not donate it to a food program for the poor?
Some of them are just so uneducated.
that's a good point.
There's just with certain fish, there's just a dogma. Like, you don't eat that fish. It's a trash fish, and it freaks me out. So when I go to the coast, or basically live there, when there's a gaff top sail cats and hardheads and stuff, people are like, "Oh, throw that away or kill it and trash it." I'll take them out, and if they're a good eating size, I mean, it's a native fish from there. It's the ocean, I'll take it and I'll eat it, and it is better than some of the freshwater cats I've eaten.
It's all really just about if you want to take the risk or not, really. Because like the only thing about carp is they're a bottom feeder, so they're spending their life going around sucking off the bottom, and it's natural. But and another thing to think about too is a real big fish. A lot of people catch a real big fish and you're real tempted to eat it, but if you think about how old that fish is, how long it's been in the wild, and if it's in some waterways that are kind of sketchy, and maybe it got contaminated back in the 90s when the thing was growing up, and
I didn't actually think about that. To
it
be
can
honest
have
with you.
there's heavy metals and stuff like that can be in it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but it's
that's
all
why
it's all on
I
the
try to-
risk.
I
So
try
is
to
it the
purge it like
parabens and all that?
you would purge a crawfish.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
A little bit of salt
If you
water.
can do that, yeah. Even better yet, bring them home and check them out. Put them in a big bucket and watch them for a while. Clean them out.
Yeah,
I like to freeze my fish too. When I clean a fish, I freeze
I do
it
too.
to kind of
yeah, for
kill the
sure.
parasites on it. Let it be frozen for a while.
There's a
Yeah.
because I harvest one shark per year usually, and it's usually a black tip. Um,
How big do those get?
mm, right over 6 feet, I believe, right over 5 or something.
Nice.
The ones I get, I keep because the regulation I think is like 24 inches, nose to tip of tail or something like that. So I'll keep anywhere between 24 and I don't know, maybe double that, 48. That's kind of like the perfect eating size.
Yeah.
Because doing the research, they have all those contaminants in our coastal waters, and with that oil spill. Yeah, man, I didn't think about that with the bigger fish here in freshwater.
I don't think you should waste it either, though. At the
No,
same point,
no,
you should
no,
use it.
never that. There's a
Your
place
pets
called,
would love it. Your dog would love it.
yeah, there's a place called Calaveras Lake, and they have a red drum, and I think it's the only place in the world that has red drum in their freshwater, just strictly freshwater or something like that. They stock it; it doesn't come natural. But that's a power plant. I hear so many different things. I hear one side says, don't eat them. I hear the other side say, yeah, they're perfectly fine. So it's like,
Yeah.
oh, man, I'm not going to lie. We take the kayak out and we get a big old board.
Right on.
We'll figure it out.
Right on.
Yep.
Fellas, it's that time.
All right.
Unfortunately, I was having a good time towards the end of this conversation. I was like, yeah, fishing, yeah. But it is Foxy's hour, so everybody, I put it in there, and I don't know if everybody got it or not, but it is pound sign.
What it is? What's up, IHSP?
There you go. Just copy and paste it. Copy it here, paste it in her page. Show her some Rockin' the Coast love. Guys, thank you so much.
Bye, everybody.
We'll keep in touch, Maple Street. I got a lot of questions for you, brother.
You got my email. We've been in conversation, so yep.
Right on, brother. Right on.
Thanks for having me on.
Thank you so much, brother. Oh no, definitely a pleasure, man. We'll have you on again sometime. I'd love to have you again.
Absolutely.
So especially after the classroom thing gets going a little bit more, I'm sure I'll have a lot of questions for you too. So,
sounds
anyways,
good.
Awesome. I'll look forward to it, guys. Thank you so much for being here, mods. We love you. You guys are the best ever.
See y'all.
Take care.
Easy.